Welcome to the Every Gym podcast. My name is Andy Brady, joined today in studio by our master of the seas, our good captain and pastor, Dr. Jim Thomas.
How are you, Andy sir? Brady. Wow, I've missed that, sir. Man. That's good.
After a little break, I wanted to throw you off. And we also have the privilege of hosting our legendary family and missions pastor, Jimothy Garner. How are you?
I'm good, Andy. Good to see you.
Excellent. We got another guy named Andrew over there. Today we are discussing the Northside Baptist summer mission trips. Jimothy, part of your role here is as our missions pastor. Global mission is part of our 7 core values. But overall, the way that we flesh that out, how would you describe our aim with short-term mission trips in the summer?
Yeah, man, Andy, they're critical to what we try to do here at the church. We love to work with our mission partners that the Lord has provided us a variety of them and their life experiences around the world of the last decade or so that we have opportunity to connect with. And it gives our church an opportunity to not only give and to pray for these partners, but to go with them on mission, to live in their culture, whether it be in New York City or whether it be in Honduras. And so the world is varied, and we love to engage our people. The opportunity to connect on mission. Yeah. When I was student pastor, was nothing like seeing our students to have those experiences, to go on a mission trip. We always value camp and retreats and youth group, but if we could get a student to participate and go on mission with us, it was life-changing for so many reasons. And but it's not just for students; it's for all ages. We love to see Northsiders connected on mission. And I would challenge every Northsider to join us on mission. Yeah. You will not be disappointed. God will use you in things that you would never imagined, and use your spiritual gifts and talents that He's given you to touch many lives for the kingdom.
Good commercial break,
That
Jim.
is a good word.
Go,
All
man.
right. And on that note, we'll see you next time. That's awesome.
Sign up today at nsbcweatherford.com.
Summer 2026.
That's good. No, that's really good. Let me kind of open it up to the floor, because each of you were part of a major trip for Northside. And in my mind, what makes it major, it could be quantity, but I don't think so. I think of major more of like, hey, this thing had fingers in multiple ministries and age groups at Northside, like truly intergenerational with our trips. How would you all tell us a little bit about where you went, and perhaps just a brief synopsis of the trip overall before we dive into some of the details?
Yeah. Andrew, 1, 2, 3, go.
We went to Colorado Springs with our partner, Pastor Darren, and his church. And we've gone there the last 4 years, and probably the first year that I realized what our purpose was. We'd always gone to help with VBS, and that was kind of the main thing. And then we're trying to figure out what do we do with the rest of the time, because we would have, before this year, we had morning VBS. So what we do in the afternoon? So we would do outreach in the community, and then we would do just different things in the evening. And this year, it was like we've been focused on the wrong thing. Not that VBS is bad, but our greatest impact was really engaging the community and doing these different outreach opportunities. You know, we go to the Garden of the Gods every year, and we sing. And that's rarely planned, other than we're planning to go there. But we get there, and we always meet somebody from another country, from all over, from different areas of our country. And it's just, having opportunities to see students who, before this trip, they didn't even talk. And they're going to talk to strangers and praying with people from other countries and sharing the gospel. It's just like, wow, I know what we're supposed to be doing when we come here. And so it really is a cool opportunity to serve that church up there we're church partnering with. But the other thing is having opportunities for global mission in a secluded area like Colorado Springs. We went to the Olympic Museum, and just people from all over the world that are represented or there to visit. And it's like, man, Colorado Springs is kind of a revolving door for the nations. And it's a small picture of being able to interact with people on areas we're already going and places that we're already connecting. And so, and then being able to just kind of bolster up the church there and encourage them. They love when we're there. They get excited. There's like a refueling of excitement with a bunch of young people. They don't have a ton of that in that area. So Colorado Springs was incredible. So
that's awesome. Thank you. What, Dr. Thomas?
Yeah, we went to Brazil and took 14 of our people. Had 40 Americans overall, partnering with churches from Oklahoma, Tennessee, Illinois, Georgia, and several in the Metroplex that went. We had a total team of 612 missionaries working together. People from outside the Americans, from all over Brazil, all the way as far south as Santa Catarina, which is a very southern part of Brazil. But what people don't usually realize is Brazil's as big as the continental United States, right?
Yes.
And so when you're pulling from that type of area, we're pulling from Santa Catarina, Minas Gerais, Bahia, Sao Paulo, Rio, Manaus, Brasilia, and all these believers coming together in this city of 200,000. So we have 612 missionaries going out into a city of 200,000 to share the gospel, to do VBS, we do some social medical stuff. The medical is glucose levels and blood pressure, because they don't have very good health care there. So we do basic health care and point them, if we see an issue, we can point them to a doctor or whatever. But we're going to go into schools. The schools were actually out for a state holiday while we were there. So we tried to gather teenagers and kids where we could, and tried to have influence there. It was really pretty exciting to be a part of a team, a multicultural team. Yeah. We actually had one random German guy that was with us. Didn't expect that. He was trilingual or quadlingual. I don't know if that's how you say it.
Okay.
English, Portuguese, German, and I think he had one other, French or Spanish. It was Spanish. Okay. So to see the majority of the group either not fluent in English or not fluent in Portuguese working together through interpreters to take the gospel to that city, just pretty phenomenal. That's phenomenal awesome experience. And, we can maybe post a picture later of the team itself, but once you see the team sitting in one room, you're like, oh my goodness.
I mean,
that's the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Advancing.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Timothy, did you get to go on any trips this year?
I did. I got to return to Honduras. It was my first time back in 3 years, and we went to a familiar area in western part of Honduras in San Nicolas. Andrew's actually been there his first trip with us, I believe, in 2022. And so it was an area we were familiar with, our third trip there in the last 5 or 6 years. But it was good to see they finally have a pastor now of their church who he and his wife are leading the church well in that community. And one thing we always talk about in any mission trip, where it's local, national, global, be flexible. Yeah. Because you can have a plan, and you can prepare hard for that plan, but it may not happen. And we had that experience happen to us this year where they changed things on us, and we didn't get to go to the high schools and middle schools to share these workshops like we'd planned on, and enjoy getting to go with students. But we went to a new place and did a kindergarten VBS, and then we got to have all their parents just to us and do a parent workshop. And that's something new, but it was great influence there for that community, for that pastor and his team to connect with those families, and love on them and teach them, and so it ended up being a new experience, but a great experience, and very intentional for that community and their role in ministry there. And so we felt like with what we do with Damaran Ministries that we go with now, and what they do working with the Honduran Baptist Convention, that we now, when we go back to Honduras, we can go to another area of the country and have a new work there that we'll do to help build a church and grow a church up. So, yeah, it was a great trip.
That's awesome. How long has Northside been going to Honduras regularly? Because it's not every year. Is that correct?
It's every couple of years. 2014 was the first year we took a group, and so we've been 7 or 8 times during those.
That's
decade.
Incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible. What, to varying degrees, like you're heavily involved in planning the high school mission trip, given that you're the high school minister. You have a hand in just about every trip a little bit. You're part of, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of part of the original brain trust of Project 70.
Yeah.
But so to varying degrees, there's a process that all three of you go through in planning the mission trips and preparing for the mission trips. So if I'm going to project my personal reality onto y'all's experience, there's probably moments of unknowns, moments of frustrations, moments of trying to figure stuff out. And I'm just curious if there were any things in the planning process, the preparing process, or the execution that becomes adaptation and execute process that maybe like God kind of showed you or taught you during this? Because on the ministry side, the mission trip kind of begins with planning. Like when we get on the airplane, that's just when y'all show up for the mission trip. We've been rolling for this for a while now. But what were maybe some things that God shared with y'all or taught y'all in the process?
For our team, I have half my team of 8. Half were new to us, and the other half have been multiple times. And they go back to Honduras. They love it. They're very connected there. One of our own, Gracie Pesqueda, she went as a high schooler when she was Gracie Gutierrez, and now she's married, and she got to bring her husband.
That's cool.
But in her role there as a church, she helped plan the trip. She's been a part of it, and now she kind of helps lead and leads the team and did a fantastic job. And so it was cool to see somebody who grew up in our high school ministry now having a leadership role, and taking that to heart because she loves Honduras and the church there and the people, and wanted to give her best and did. And it was neat to see that come about for us this year. I know, Pastor, y'all had a few different experiences that y'all were not planning on.
Yeah, well, Jim and I can both attest, and you guys can too, if you're with a primarily Anglo culture here, working with a primarily Latin culture, his Hispanic, mine Portuguese in this setting. You roll at different speeds with those cultures. And Western Anglo culture wants to roll really fast, want to get everything planned, want to have it in order, want to pay stuff in advance, want to have all your ducks in a row before you go. And a Latin culture is, how can I say this kindly, really laid back. Yeah. To the point where things are still being planned a month out, right? And so there's a lot of fruit of the Spirit work going on in my life, really for the entire planning process of the year beforehand, but especially in the months leading up to that. And learning.
Any particular branch on that fruit tree?
Yeah, well, let's just go ahead and include all of them, but patience becomes a primary one. To be able to humble myself, to lead in a way that gives margin and space for others to lead. Yeah. Because our goal is not for us to go in and do a mission trip. Our goal is to support the local churches there. Yeah. And as much as, and I'm going to speak back to something Andrew said a second ago, but my goal as a pastor and as a mission trip leader is to disciple our people who are going. Yeah. So I feel a weight and a burden and a responsibility of being organized enough in my mind and heart where I'm putting our people in the best place they could be to grow. Yeah. Realizing that once you get on the field, some of the best places for them to grow are the unorganized places. Yeah. And so I'm battling my own personality in that. I'm battling my own desires in that. I'm battling what is unanswered, but is critical to success in our minds and is in the whole team's mind. And then really learning to open the hand and say, okay, God, you're in charge of this, and I'm going to be obedient. Give me wisdom. And that becomes a key. When you let go, our dependence in wisdom really does fall at the feet of Jesus. Yeah. To be able to speak into different situations and to be able to work with people cross-culturally. And so I think that's one of the ways that I think that the planning process, once I'm on the field, 99% of the time, you're just going. Yeah. But it's that prep time that I'm having to do continual heart checks on why we're doing it and how we work best with other believers around the world.
That's good. It's a good example of being a follower of Jesus, though, too. Like your life experience, your training, even in ministry, has given you a certain set of skills, Liam Neeson.
Thank you.
But even our certain set of skills have to always be submitted and run behind him. Yeah. Because if it's not at his pace, it's not on his path.
That's right.
I stole that from someone else.
That's
but
good.
Like that's true though, and that's how we grow in it. What about you, bro?
You can quote me on that. Just kidding. I think one of the things that you humbly learn is you think you have all these things planned, and you kind of, and I think you kind of alluded to this, if not just directly said it, but you kind of rob someone else of their giftings. And one of the things that I thought I had planned, I was like, oh, they're going to love it. And then I get there, and their plan is way better, and I was like, oh, this is your arena. I don't even know why I tried to enter it and give you something that would be helpful. Yeah. But it was already planned. I was like, never mind. I'm sorry that if there's a time I overstepped or tried to take this away from me. And so just empowering other people to use their giftings. That's good. To serve, because for them, that was how they best served. Like that's their spiritual gift being utilized. And I'm trying to hand them something that was their gift. And I was like, oh man, sorry. I don't know why I did that. I was just trying to
sometimes
help
when
you
you
out.
try to export your gift on someone else, it's just you trying to do what you want to do and not really helping disciple them to the point where they're actually being the hands and feet of Jesus the way God has wired them.
Yeah.
And to see the beauty of that on the other side and to see the fruit that's born
Absolutely.
out of everybody's different spiritual gifting and personality types and all those type of things, that's the victory on the back end. And to be able to, as far as discipleship goes within the context of the team.
That's good. That's good. Any stories of outcomes regarding maybe the people we went to serve or partners that we went to encourage? Anything like that from our trips abroad or at home?
I'll start. I think it was cool just kind of hearing from Pastor Darren the path that he feels like the Lord's taken them at their church, and it's very discipleship driven. It's like, there's a lot of like-mindedness that's happening there that was really cool. The other thing is, you never know what to expect through some of the kindness outreaches that we do, and so some of the kindness outreaches, we give away Dr. Peppers at red lights, in parks. We go to some of the shopping centers and offer to clean toilets and bathrooms and cleaning their windows and all that stuff. Well, we finished very quickly. And a lot of people turn us down. A lot of people are like, oh, this is corporate level. You can't do this. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, we did it last time, but now we have nowhere to go. And so what can we do? And students weren't, students and leaders both, they weren't coming to me saying, hey, what should we do? They were just, hey, let's go do this. So they were, kind of improvising on the fly of like, this is why we're here. We're going to go do it. And one of them was just start walking neighborhoods and asking people in the neighborhood, hey, can we clean your windows? And so we walk up on a lady and we scare her and we're like, sorry, this looks weird. This looks weird. Anyway,
it's strange when you walk up and say, we're not weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, you kind of are.
Oh, and it says zero normal people.
That's
ever.
exactly right there.
Well, it gets better because in the conversation, we found out she was a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, wow.
And so she was totally uninterested in anything we were offering because, hey, we're just showing God's love in a practical way. Oh, no, that's not really what we want. So we're just talking to her and just getting to know her a little bit, sharing a little bit. She's asking why we're here and what we're doing, and we're talking. And her husband peeks out the window, and he's looking out at us, and we're just waving at him.
Kind of like what we do to Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. It's like, he waves.
Oh, they're outside.
And she's like, you can come out. So she waves him out, and we're chatting for a little bit. And he says, what are y'all doing? And we're like, oh, we're just showing God's love in a practical way. We were wanting to wash people's windows, and we just asked if we could do it. But, And he said, what'd you say to him? And his wife goes, I just told him we were good. And he goes, are you kidding me? He said, you've been complaining about that for the last several weeks, that you got to clean your windows. And I'm like, the Lord has sent us here. And throughout that conversation, it was interesting because they finally kind of were like, okay, you can do it. But I think there was reasons why she was a bit slow to it. But just in talking to the husband who we found out he had terminal cancer, he was not a Jehovah's Witness. He didn't believe anything that she believed. He had a background in, I think, Presbyterian background. And so just an opportunity to encourage him and just share hope, right? So, man, the kids just did an awesome job. And it was one of those things where it's like from uninterested to great conversation and still very guarded, the wife. Yeah. But the husband being like, why would you do this? Because he had, from what we got, he would say, I believe in what Christ has done, but he's probably had no affiliation to a local church in 30 plus years. And so just having maybe that spark, especially in a pretty primal time of his own life, seeing the expiration of that. Yeah. And so hopefully that just being an encouragement to, reset your hope or set your hope in Christ. So it was a cool opportunity, and one of those where it's like, what just happened? Especially when the husband's like, you've been complaining for weeks that you're gonna have to do this. And it's so like, why would you turn them down?
That's right.
Very cool story.
That's good. Any from Brazil?
Yeah, I mean, just numbers represent people. We had 1,100 cards turned in of people that our team had conversations with. Had 383 decisions for Christ in those 6 days, and so it's a little overwhelming. Almost, I've had Americans before when we come back home go, come on, that really happened? I'm like, yeah. Come and see, what God does in a people who know the stories because of the Catholic background, but have no clue about grace.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to share the gospel in a way that says, no, this does apply to your life beyond religious activity.
Yeah.
People respond to that. I think the other thing, other than just our team and the evangelism and everything we saw happening around that, was just the encouragement. We partnered with 9 churches in the city.
Yeah.
Most of them pretty small, under 100 people. Some of them were bigger. We were at a First Baptist church that probably ran 150, 200, something like that. I can't remember. It was a big building for there, and but to sit every day at lunch with those pastors and other ministry leaders from around the country. So we probably had about 15, 20 pastors sitting around a table. And for my mentor, Pastor Sam Dennis, and myself to be able to take each one of those lunches and influence and invest in those local pastors.
That's cool.
And encourage them in leadership principles and disciple-making principles, in partnership principles, and all those type of things was a really rich time for me. Because they were just sponges. They were just soaking things up with the encouragement that God allowed us to provide. So,
Is that a consistent offering that y'all have had through your
hasn't,
years there?
no.
Okay, because I don't think I've heard.
No,
that
it's somewhat
last year.
new. We came back to P70 leadership last year and said, listen, we have these pastors in a somewhat controlled environment, and at least for an hour.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we freed that up is we allowed our lay people to lead in the devotion times for the teams, because we did devotion at breakfast, devotion at lunch. Well, usually that's pastor driven, and what we did is we stepped out of that mix and equipped our people to do those devotions, and we had 4 or 5 Northsiders. Sarah, your associate, did one of them.
Yep.
We had several Northsiders leading in devotions for the team of 600 while we were on the back porch with 20 pastors investing in them.
Gosh.
And that was pretty cool. It's the first time that's ever really happened outside of some seminary classes I've taught for some of these guys. But it became a very sweet time of ministry, and we were able to actually resource them a Portuguese version of Bill Hull's book, Conversion and Discipleship, at the end to say, what's your next step? Because we're about to hand you a bunch of names on cards of people who have come to know Christ. What are you going to do with them?
Yeah.
And so we gave them a tool to help them grow as pastors. And I had one sweet man come up to me, Pastor Paolo, who you've met, I believe, Jim, down from Santa Catarina, and he walked up and he threw his arms around my neck and through an interpreter said, "You have invested in me, thank you." And so that idea of not just growing the kingdom, but growing the body and helping those under shepherds to grow and be encouraged, it was just pretty phenomenal.
That's some fruitful stuff right there. That gets me jazzed up, really, really quickly. Timothy, what are maybe some things from...
Well, in Honduras, like I mentioned earlier, we had opportunity to go in some different schools and do a workshop. But the thing that was surprising to me was on another day, we are used to go in on a certain afternoon out to this little school that meets outside the community. It's a one-room schoolhouse. The lady's been very faithful to teach those kids in that little community, 15, 20 kids. And we were going that way, and I thought, oh, there's a school. But then we stopped and got out real close to it, but across the street was a house. And we went over there, and there were like double the number of kids in there in this small facility. And so we had to set up tents and things outside, and up with 35, 40 children. They realized they could have a bigger impact if they did this ministry, not in the school there, but at a house. And then I found out that the pastor that's new there, he is not only just ministering to his congregation there in San Nicolas, but he's planted a second church in that house.
That's awesome.
And so they are, growing the church in that area, and they planted a church. And so he preaches at his church, and he goes out there in the afternoon on Sundays and then and preaches out there and is leading that congregation.
Was that the old Wesley route?
Yeah, it is. Circuit riders.
Right.
Hop on the horse and run.
But that was cool to see that happening that we didn't know was taking place in that community. So he gets it as a pastor and what his role is.
Yeah, golly, that is really awesome. What in the scenarios where, because I think the bulk of the time we get to see and hear about the extremes, right, more than the mundane. So we see and hear from those that go with us that have phenomenal trips, and we see and hear from those that go with us that have difficult trips. Just with the collective experience in the room or at the tables, what are some maybe questions or frameworks to help process a rough trip? You take in high school students, it's our 4th year in Colorado Springs. Year 1, year 2 were phenomenal. 3 was pretty mid, but this year was hard. Like, does that mean that I did the trip wrong, or what are some other things maybe people are turning over the years? Like, what might be some things that y'all might have?
Well, I mean, the level of spiritual warfare is very real.
Yeah.
When you go in Jesus' name, and we've seen that on the field. I've been to Honduras before. I've been to Tegucigalpa. I've been with you to Colorado Springs. I've done Colorado Springs a couple times as well, with other churches. And in the context that we're talking about here, spiritual warfare is very prevalent on the field. But I've even seen it be prevalent before you go.
Yes.
As families are attacked, as businesses are attacked, as sickness happens, all these kind of different things. So I think, first of all, the realization that the enemy's real, that he doesn't want us to do this, but our Jesus is bigger than him. And pre, during, and post-trip. And to know that each year is going to be a little different. That's why prayer is so important within the context of that whole paradigm of the mission trip. But no, I don't think it's necessary. Now, there are some years we've done stuff wrong. Yeah. There are some years we misread the room. There are some years we made decisions that were in the moment and of the flesh and not of the spirit, and had to backtrack and humble ourselves before the Lord. I'm talking as a leadership team as a whole. And go a different direction and work together. And we've seen some consequences for those things where we didn't bear as much fruit as we hoped we were going to bear. I know this is very general stuff, but that's kind of some of the ideas that I see that have been difficult. You have people that go on the trip that have not personally prepared. And we may have prepared as a group, but they are not personally prepared, and they get there and all those fleshly idols start popping up. Selfishness, greed, lust, whatever it happens to be. And then you're managing people's sin and idolatry on your team, on the trip. And now you're, as a leader, your mind is so distracted. And I'm sure Andrew and Jim, as former youth guys and current youth guys, we deal with this all the time. But I've dealt with it with adults who, well, why did they get the better room? And I'm like, come on, really?
Because I like them more than you.
I like them more than you. They paid more. No, whatever it happens to be. But now you're fully distracted from the purpose that you're being there because you're managing sin.
Yeah.
Right? And that's been one of those areas that's been a real frustration to me over the years. So
that's fair. You got any tips for a high schooler or even an adult volunteer that, like, hey, it was hard? Does that mean it was the wrong trip for them to go on, or things that might help frame it for them?
I'm not sure, other than I think the expectation that's usually set of how it's going to go, because it's rarely the same.
It's rarely.
Every year it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so if you're expecting something, you're probably going to be let down if that doesn't happen, or that's going to create different types of chaos. And so just going in it open-minded and
I think a lot of that's driven by fear. If you're going, even if you've been to that environment before and you set up your expectations and it doesn't go the way you think, it's driven by the fear of the unknown. And so how do you react or respond to your fear? Do you humble yourself and are adaptable to the situation, or do you put your flag in the ground and say, no, this was my expectation and the rest of the people here aren't meeting it?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be stubborn about it. And that's where we get into trouble, I think, on those trips. And so the adaptability is key, I think, in those as well.
Yeah, you just have to be prepared. I mean, I would just tell our people to, go for it, even when things are not what you'd expected. God is still at work. He's bigger than all the issues and sin and distractions. And he's going to do something special or different that'll usually blow you away. Like, I did not see that coming. But he continues to amaze us.
Well, I had a couple of Andy's college students with us this year. I had 4 or 5 of them, actually. And one of them came up to me. He goes, hold on, I was going to be on this team, and now they just put me on evangelism, and I've never done that before. Help, And there was panic.
Hey,
there was panic on his face. And he
at no point in North America would he have chosen to do that.
That's exactly right.
Or chosen to be in a spot that could have been the outcome.
Yeah.
and look at how God wove it to place it.
To place him and then to send him out. And for me to say, I don't know how it's going to go, but you need to go.
Good luck.
And
Buck up, Buttercup.
That's
Let's
right.
go.
That's exactly right. Here's a way that we've taught you and that you've learned how to share the gospel. You're not going to be left alone without a translator. Just go. And so my follow-up question is really simple. How'd it go?
Yeah.
And his response was, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I was still terrified, but that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there you go. He's growing. He's being stretched.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for a lot of our people, this may be the first time they've shared their testimony.
That's exactly right.
Or shared the gospel, as Pastor said. And so these experiences are very real and gives them that confidence when they can return back that it's just life.
Yeah.
Or do life, whether you're in Honduras or Colorado, Brazil, wherever in this world, you're just living there and you can share your story with anybody.
That's good.
And that's mission trips. It's everyday life.
So I have a question. Can I ask a question, Andy? Thanks. I appreciate it. Short, but craziest mission trip story. This is for all four of us. You have a crazy mission trip story. I'll start.
Crazy like ha-ha or crazy like, I can't believe God did that?
Crazy like ha-ha,
Okay.
but appropriate
Okay.
for a Northside podcast. So I'll start and give you guys a few seconds to think because I thought of one a few minutes ago. So we were in Brazil. This was 10, 12 years ago. We're in a town called São Francisco. So in Spanish, it'd be San Francisco. Cool. It's on the São Francisco River in central Brazil. And we come into the city and we find out that the gay mayor, who is the ex-Catholic priest, just let that settle for a second, has banned banned any Catholics from coming to our rally because what the Catholic Church there had done was if you join the Catholic Church, we will give you land and a house. So the threat was if you go to the Baptist rally, we're going to take your land and your house away from you, right? And so we go into the town under this first real kind of physical, spiritual oppression that I kind of felt going into a city there where people are being threatened because we're there, right? And we go in, and one of the first things after our team prays together, pastors pray together, we say, we need to set up a meeting with the mayor, and let's go talk to this guy. And he wouldn't meet with us. But we did get into the vice mayor, sat down, had an incredible conversation, had our picture taken, gave him a gift from the mayor of the city I was in at the time, and had over 300 people come to know Christ. And nobody's land or house got taken away. But, that's like Cold War type stuff.
Yeah.
That's like, you're coming in and people are going to be punished because you're here.
Yeah.
That's even Acts type stuff going on there. And so that's not ha-ha funny, but it was one of those times where I'm like, this is kind of crazy. And we've had a couple overflowed toilets at flooded hotels. That's kind of the ha-ha funny. It is now. It wasn't then.
Mine would have been 1998, Jamaica. And we had gone.
Time out.
Yes.
Did you fundraise for this trip?
Some people did, yes.
All right. So in the fundraising efforts for your mission trip to Jamaica, did you withhold where you were going?
No, we fully communicated.
Okay, we're going to a closed country. I can't tell you. It put me at danger, but it's Jamaica.
It's a closed resort. Yeah,
I can't wait till God sends me to Hawaii.
We were not on a cruise ship. We were not at this special club place.
All inclusive. No, it's cool.
Yes, we were on the mountains and doing.
So while I was going down the water slide, we had this conversation.
We did have a little bit of time for some fun things too.
Okay,
but
so 98 Jamaica.
I'd gone down in
Doing the
January with
Lord's
one of our
work.
pastors, and we planned out the trip, and we found a hotel where our group's going to stay, and got all that lined out, and paid some money up front for our deposit. And yes, as Americans, we love a little bit of comfort, and so they have air conditioning. We can pay a little extra and have air conditioning at night. So we show back up in June, bring our group, and we go to the hotel. They welcome us. We get in our rooms, and everything's settled. And our first night's sleep, we're just enjoying a good night's sleep. The air is on, and then we wake up in the middle of the night just sweating. And we're like, so one of the adults with me, he goes, what happened? And he goes out and he finds the roof and a breaker, finds that it's been turned off. He goes and turns it back on. We got air again. We go back to sleep for a few minutes, and we wake up sweating again. And they had just gone up, and they turned off the air. They said they've had enough air, and they turned it off, even though we had paid for it and everything. So that wasn't good. But then we also realized that they locked us in at night. because in this hotel they didn't tell us that it's also a dance club on the weekends. And so there is disco music and all kinds of music going crazily loud through the hallways and in your rooms. So it was quite an event. So we realized that they were locking us in. They said for our safety, but if there had been a fire, we couldn't have got out.
Oh my God.
And so windows and doorways caged. So we realized that. So the next day, while they're doing some work, our team, me and another adult, went and found a different hotel on the coast at the beach, where we didn't have air, but we had the wind blowing through the open windows from the
Atlantis?
beach.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody needs Jesus, right? Everybody needs Jesus.
Provided comfort, but the hardest part was telling them up front that other people we're leaving your hotel, because they'd planned on us being there all week and that money.
Yeah.
But we didn't feel like for our safety
that makes
we
sense.
could be there.
And they didn't offer for you to join the disco.
No, they didn't.
Well, that would have been another option.
No, well, that was
Wow.
Which I have a mental picture of you doing that right now.
You get to top the Caribbean.
I kind of have two. I don't know which one to share first, or I guess I can do both of them. The first one is we would go to Vermont every year. We partnered with our former worship guy who sabbatical and then left to go plant a church. So it was classic. And we went up there and we were doing different things. And we went every night. We would go, not every night, but most nights we'd go get a creamy. That's like heaven's ice cream.
Okay.
They were unbelievable. Maple creamy, if you're in Vermont,
Wow.
go get a
That
maple
sounds
creamy at an actual maple place. And we were there, and we had these ridiculous shirts that said, I heart VBS, big red heart. And we kind of made jokes. Why are we wearing
Is this
this
also in
silly
98?
shirts? No.
98.
He would have been attending VBS in 98.
And we were in line for this creamy place, and all of a sudden this lady gets into her car, and we just hear the engine rev up. Well, she thinks she's in reverse, starts going forward, and instead of actually tapping the brakes, she freaks out and hits the gas.
Oh my goodness!
And runs over a larger individual, male, and
A human
literally,
being.
the
Wow.
car's on top of him, and all three tires are touching the ground except for the third one, which is on top of him. And everybody's freaking out on her, back up, and she doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
This is a moment where it's time to give up the keys,
Yeah.
And she finally gets off of them, and we're just like, what just happened? And we're here on mission trip, and everybody's looking around like someone almost died. And
Did he have an I Love VBS shirt on?
He didn't.
Oh, okay.
He didn't, but it was one of those where not long after that we had the opportunity to a guy. This is just acknowledging is I think like my first mission trip, and that was like an actual mission trip rather than like a work project. And guy's like, "Hey, I like your shirt." I'm like, "Thanks." And I just go back and turn around, and my friend starts talking to him, and we end up sharing the gospel with him, having a great conversation. But I was just like, "Oh, it's creamy time."
That's what an open door looks like. Yeah,
I can't believe I missed that. So that was embarrassing, but yeah. Guy lived. Everything's okay. There was a.
We feel like we had a long delay.
Yeah, that's right.
This guy gets completely run over.
So I got to officiate a funeral. It was amazing.
We had an EMT there and a nurse that was waiting in line, so they were able to take care of him.
And you just sat there eating your maple cream.
We prayed for him after a second.
We opened with. Would your qualifier funny haha?
Yeah, we just didn't go there.
No, that was.
I got a funny haha though, because we were in Brazil in the Sao Paulo airport.
Okay.
Don't know Portuguese. Sent this guy up, said, "Get us some Guaraná," and that is a Brazilian soft drink.
Okay.
He went up to the Pizza Hut, as you do, and
They're really
he said,
good there.
and we saw him, two pastors watching him do this, try to order Guaraná, and him trying to remember that word, and they bring out 2 pitchers of beer and put it in front of him, and you see the panic start to ensue all over his body.
Jim's leaving.
Better than seeing him look if you're watching.
That's right. And we're just watching. We're just over here just watching, going, "Oh, this is straight up comedy."
Yeah.
And he's just in full panic mode, and he's gone into sign language at this point of trying to say that's not what I ordered, and blah 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 blah. And finally, he turns around and looks at us, and we're almost on the ground laughing. And when she finally figures out what he's trying to say, she went, "Okay," and took the beer back and got him some Guaraná. Wow, so that was funny. He never lived that down. That was really funny.
That's a good one.
Oh, those are good. Those are really good ones. I guess I'll do like a shorter one. I was actually a student on the trip. We were playing trash can basketball, but it was full contact, and we didn't have a trash can. We had a metal sink in the corner, but one of the walls was actually a wall up to about 3 feet, and then window above that. And
Backboard.
We're in LA, and so, anyways, just as I'm driving to the sink, hit a friend. We hit, and then I bounce off, and I went to catch myself on the wall because it had a good handle. My aim was only off by a couple of inches, which put my arm through the window.
Oh, fun.
So then I ran to the bathroom and just kind of stood. I mean, y'all can see the left.
Oh, yeah.
Scar. That is this scar.
Wow.
So I just kind of stood over the urinal with blood running down.
Did you say over the urinal?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So I mean, it was easy.
Okay.
It collected what needed to be collected, which was my blood. Like, it wasn't going to make a stain. It wasn't my church. I don't want to dirty it up. I did just put a hole in the window, though. And the immediate things that came to mind were, I don't want Nick to find out. Nick was the minister who was also discipling me. And I don't want to go to an LA County hospital because that's going to be expensive. Like, those are the two things. So then I just yelled, somebody go get Ryan. Ryan was my good friend who was a nursing major. So I was like, clearly Ryan's going to be able to fix this up. Ryan runs in there and he's like, bro, are you okay? I was like, yes. He's like, why did you want them to get me? I was like, you're a nursing major. He was like, I've been a nursing student for 6 weeks. Like, I haven't even passed anatomy yet. I was like, well, what do we do? He's like, we called Nick. I was like, I don't know. Well, luckily there was an actual nurse on the trip who came and did liquid stitches. Legitimately, it originally went from the middle of my palm almost to my elbow, and then on the back side, I had probably 6 or 7 on the top of my arm. So Miss Nancy did phenomenal on that. But
Well, I just figured out why you put it under the urinal, because y'all had already pulled the sink to play basketball.
that's fair as well. I mean, it was. We didn't play trash can basketball the rest of the trip or any other trips, but it was fun times. It was good. Okay, well, that'll do it. So here, just real quick, like, if somebody's how do you think someone should begin the process of discerning how God wants them to partner in missions? Just like, what's a solid first step? Because we've all got a role to play. What would be a great first step for a listener? Like, almost to the extent of like, hey man, as a follower of Jesus, I have trusted Jesus by faith, and I'm following and being transformed by him and leading others to do the same. Here's something that we're all doing as part of that. What would be a great universal first step?
Yeah, I can't get away from Matthew 28, that we're to go and make disciples of all nations. That we're all called to that. It's not a thing that's argued like with God. Like, is this really God's will for me to go and be a part of his kingdom plan and the core value of Northside? Remember that, Northsiders? That to be a part of his mission and what he's doing around the world globally. Yeah. And we have the opportunity to do that. And man, if he's putting it on your heart and you just start having these feelings and thoughts and curiosities, pursue that. Investigate. Talk to your other pastors. Talk to us. You can talk to friends who may have gone on experiences on mission trips, and they're going to tell you that it's one of the greatest things they ever chose to do in life, and they're not regretting they went.
That's good.
And you won't regret either.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing we need to remember: if you're a Christ follower, you're on mission. So it's a daily thing, and so a trip becomes an event that we can participate in that takes us to the broader vocation, the broader scope of what God's doing around the world, whether it be domestic. My wife is very much called to domestic missions, to women's missions and shelters through Spark, one of our other mission partners. So God may call you to a specific type of ministry outside of your daily walk. And I think back to what Jim just said, as you walk with Jesus, he's going to make it evident where he's calling you to serve him. And then you need to be responsive to that and take those steps of faith. But it starts with that personal walk every day.
That's good. That's good.
They took the 2 good ones. I would say, I think a lot of people are
you giving
wondering.
us a bad one?
No, I hope this is a good one. I think a lot of people wonder if I should go. I think maybe a better question to ask is, should I stay
that's
wherever I'm at? Like, and sometimes that is where God has you. But I think we ask that for so long that staying becomes very easy. It's like, where should I go? Well, I don't know. Be willing to go and ask God to show you where that is. And say, I'm willing to stay if you're not calling me elsewhere.
Yeah.
But just having maybe that mindset of, I'm called to go. Where's that at?
That's a great point. That's a good one to end on. Thank you for listening with us this time on the Every Gym podcast, and we'll see you next time.